Welcome to Game 13 of the 2013 Greendale Panther football season. Tonight we have a Level 4 game in the WIAA Division III state playoffs, with the winner getting the privilege of going to Madison to play on the biggest stage called Camp Randall Stadium. We find ourselves at Slinger High School tonight, where the Greendale Panthers will be playing the Appleton Xavier Hawks. Each team has great offenses and great quarterbacks, so this game will undoubtedly be determined by the defenses from both teams. The game would start with Xavier kicking to Greendale. After the return, the Panthers would set up on their 22. They would end up having a lineup for a punt from their 30 as they were looking at a 4th and 3. On the play, the snap would go to Ty Ramirez, who was the blocking back, who then took off around the right side, gaining just enough yards for the first down after a measurement was needed. It was obvious that the Panther coaching staff brought their poker chips tonight. The drive would go 3 more plays, and they were forced to line up for another punt as they were looking at a 4th and 5 from their 37. This time the ball would be snapped back to Mitchell Breeze, who was the punter, but then again he would fake it and take off up the field, gaining enough yards for a first down. On the very next play, however, Ringelberg would run a quarterback sweep to his right and fumble, giving the ball to the Hawks on Greendale's 36. Now we would finally see Matt Ferris, who holds the record for the most passing yards in a single season. On the very first play, he would hand the ball off to Zach Simons, who looked like he was going to throw, but he would be sacked by half the Panther defense for a loss. That apparently was all we were going to see of Ferris, as apparently there was something wrong with his back that was causing him too many problems, so he wasn't going to be able to play. 2 plays later, Breeze would intercept a Zach Simons pass, who was now in at quarterback. The Panthers would now see if they could get the car started. It looked like they still couldn't get it going, as they were forced to line up for another punt. After a great kick, the coverage team managed to get downfield and down the ball all the way on the Hawks' 1-yard line. Managed to get off 4 plays before being forced to punt from their 12. After a nice return by Angel Ramirez, Greendale looked to have flipped the field position around as they were looking at a short field from Xavier's 37. Again, they failed to move the sticks as they turned the ball over and downs at the Hawks' 37. 9 plays later on this possession, the Hawks hit pay dirt as Simon scored from 17 yards out on a quarterback draw. Xavier, who always goes for 2 for whatever reason, failed to do so as Greendale closed the goal line door. Xavier was now on the board first by a score of 6-0 with 10:20 now left in the second quarter. After the return, quarterback Josh Ringelberg would line his unit up and start from the Hawks' 30. This time it looked like he brought the right set of keys as they put a 5-play drive together, taking the ball into Hawks territory. On a 4th and 1 play, the Panthers would be stopped short by Xavier's defense, who looked like they came to play. The Hawks now took possession of the ball on their 26. It looked like Greendale's defense came to play as well, as they forced Xavier to punt from their 33, going 3 and out. The Panthers would start this drive from their 31. This time they got nicked with the penalty and were pushed all the way back to their 13 before Ringelberg executed a quick kick to get the ball away from his goal line. After the ball came to rest, Xavier would start from Greendale's 47. They were forced to punt again from their 47 as all 3 of the passes were broken up by Greendale's secondary. After a poor kick, Greendale would start from their 24 with 3:12 left in the first half. This time Ringelberg put the car in gear for 3 plays later. He threw a pass to Nate Miller down the left sidelines for a 38-yard scoring strike. Kicker Frankie Rakowski made the point after the try, giving the Panthers a lead by a score of 7-6 with 2:13 left in the first half. After the ensuing kick, Xavier would start from their 49 after a nice reverse return which almost went to the house. Panthers defense was giving the Hawks fits and forced them to a 4th down. Instead of punting, Xavier decided to go for it, which was broken up by Greendale, who now had the ball on their 43 with 29 seconds left in the half. That decision not to punt would come back to haunt them for 5 plays later. Greendale crossed the goal line as Ringelberg found Miller in the back of the end zone for an 8-yard scoring strike. Rakowski converted the kick, making the score 14-6 with 6 seconds left on the clock. Xavier would now get the ball after the kick and run 1 play before the first half came to an end. Xavier got the ball first to start the second half. After the return, they would start from their 20. Lo and behold, Matt Ferris would be lining up behind the center and be the quarterback for the Hawks to start the second half. He would run 3 pass plays, of which were all incomplete, so they ended up having a punt going 3 and out. After a short kick, Greendale was looking at a real short field from the Hawks' 27. 4 plays later, they were forced to line up for a 21-yard field goal attempt by Frankie Rakowski, which was good, making the score 17-6 with 9:03 left in the third quarter. After the kick, the Hawks would be starting from their 31. 2 plays later, Simons would throw a deep pass to Levi O'Brien, who made a great catch for a 59-yard scoring strike. This time they made a two-point conversion as Simons took it himself right up the middle. Xavier now found themselves trailing by a score of 17-14 with 8:45 left in the third. Greendale would begin their next drive from the 29. It looked like the coaching staff made some adjustments at halftime based on what they saw in the first half. 8 plays later, they found themselves in the end zone on a 6-yard run by Ringelberg. Rakowski made the kick, making the score 24-14 with 6:29 left in the third. Rakowski reached the end zone for a second consecutive time, so the Hawks would start from their 20. They tried 3 pass plays in a row, of which all were incomplete, so they were forced to punt back to the energized Panthers offense. After the kick, Greendale would find themselves at midfield. 4 plays later, they crossed the goal line on a reverse as Angel Ramirez scored on an amazing run from 26 yards out. The point after try was true, and Greendale now looked to be doing what they have been doing all year by pulling away with the score of 31-14 with 5:06 still left in the third quarter. Xavier needed to answer back before this game gets away on them. It would start this drive from their 20. 5 plays later, they were forced to punt, which was partially blocked, so the Panthers would take possession on their 44. 4 plays later into this drive, it looked like they were in the end zone again on a 41-yard touchdown pass to Breeze, but he would be flagged for an armbar, which is offensive pass interference, so the score would be nullified. This backed them up 15 yards to their 44. On the very next play, Ringelberg would be hit while throwing, which resulted in an interception by the Hawks. Xavier now had the ball on Greendale's 38 and were down by 17. The Panthers defense forced them to turn the ball over on downs and would take possession on their 34. The now lathered up Panther offense would take to the field. On the very first play, Ringelberg would take the ball and get loose around the right sideline for a huge 52-yard run. 3 plays later, Ringelberg would take it himself behind the great blocking of his offensive line from 4 yards out. The point after try was good, and Greendale now blew this game wide open by a score of 38-14 with 11:12 now left in the game. After a nice return, Xavier would take over on their 38. 2 plays later, Ferris did what he's been doing all year as he found Matt Kinderman for a huge 38-yard scoring strike. There was a penalty for celebrating on the play that was assessed on the extra point, so they would be forced to line up for a 35-yard kick. The extra point was no good, making the score 38-20 with 10:39 remaining in the game. After a failed onside kick attempt, Greendale would start from their 46. Seven plays later, Ringelberg would take a dive over his offensive line and score from 1 yard out. The kick was no good, making the score 44-20 with 7:52 left in the game. The Hawks really had their backs against the wall now as they would start their next drive from the 30. 5 plays later, Greendale safety Jack Ringelberg intercepted a pass on his 13 and returned it to his 39. There was an unsportsmanlike penalty call, so that would push Greendale back to their 24. They managed 6 plays before being forced to punt the ball away. There was now only 2:14 left in the game, and Xavier had the ball on their 28. Get off 6 plays before they ended up turning the ball over on downs at the Greendale 43. All Ringelberg had to do was take 2 knees to end the game. The final score would be Greendale 44, Appleton Xavier 20. While the game started out to be more of a defensive battle, the offenses eventually kicked in as the Panthers finished the night with 496 total yards to Xavier's 283. Panthers also finished the night going 19 for 29 for 257 yards through the air, while the Hawks ended up going 15 for 40 for 237 yards through the air. On a side note, one couldn't help to admire the guts and courage senior Matt Ferris had as he attempted to try and play at his request even though he was in all sorts of pain. One could only imagine what this game might have been like if he was 100%. Needless to say, this is a sign of a true competitor. The Panthers have now accomplished their goal of getting to Madison as they won all 4 of their playoff games in their bracket and compiled a school record 13 consecutive victories in a single season. There is now only one goal left, which is to bring home the gold ball for the WIAA Division III Championship at Camp Randall Stadium next Friday. They will be playing Monona Grove, who is also undefeated this season as well. It only seems right that two undefeated teams meet in a championship game, which should be a good one. This game will start at 10 a.m. in the morning. Hope to see you all there. So long.